Okay, so we're gonna get started. Good morning, everyone. We are happy to have you here today, or good morning, good afternoon. I'm not sure what time you'll be watching, but nonetheless, we're happy that you're joining us here. We are a group of a small portion of legacy leaders that are doing a presentation today on stress and time management entitled, Check Yourself Before You Stress Yourself. So my name is Kim Reed.
My name is Elsa Rodriguez.
Erifili Moritzu.
And we're just gonna jump right in and see what we can do to minimize your stress just a little bit, give you a few tips and tricks. And yes, anyway, give you some tips and tricks how to minimize your stress and manage your time. Ironically, we had the firsthand experience this morning about time management that we're still slowing down and sorting things out, but it's all good. So anyway, we're gonna get started with a little illustration about stress and how we can feel overwhelmed so very easily. And we're going to use our very own team right here to do the demonstration. So we're going to start with using these ping pong balls, which are going to be symbolic of the stressors that we have in our lives, things on our to-do list, things that just cause us to worry, that cause us to get frazzled. And I'm going to ask Erifili to come on up and be our demo. And Ilsa will give us a few ideas. We're all going to kind of throw some things in as to what our stressors are. So Ilsa, what's one of your stressors?
I would have to say my knee injury right now.
Right. So Erifili is going to get a ping pong ball to hold because of Ilsa's knee injury to symbolize some of the stress that she's got going on. So for every stressor, you're going to see how this flows. Erifili is going to get one of the ping pong balls. All right. Erifili, what's one of your stressors?
My sport
All right.
process.
There you go. All right. I'll give you one of mine. Let's see. One of my stressors is getting out of the house on time. All right. Elsa.
Graduating with my master's degree.
Woo, I should give you 2 balls for that. All right. Erifili, what you got?
Chemistry. I'm trying to get to the A.
That's definitely like that's definitely 2 balls worth. All right. Actually, can we ask one of our audience members to chime in? There's someone joining us. Wonderful.
He's next door. Yep.
Oh, thank you.
With Maria,
Bye.
with Melissa.
False alarm. No one joining us.
Veronica is
In-person
on.
only.
Veronica, can you please share one of your stressors with us? You can put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself and feel free to join in at any time.
And do the activity too at home if you want to.
Yes, please.
She said, same here, she's graduating.
All right. So we're gonna get one for Veronica as well. All right. What about Erica? Does she have one?
Erica, do you have a stressor?
No.
It's called Two Kids.
2 kids.
Oh, 2 kids, 2 balls. Here we go. Actually,
Veronica
it's like
also said applying to law enforcement.
fantastic. All right. Elsa, what you got?
Okay. I would have to say getting all my assignments in on time.
Yes, definitely. All right. Erifili?
I'll have to say COVID at this point.
COVID is a stressor. All right.
True that.
I'm gonna go with, whoa, we've already got a ball drop. All right. It's all right. We'll leave it there. We'll see if you can handle some more. I'm gonna go with balancing school, work, and home. All right. Does Veronica have another one?
Veronica, do you have any other stressors?
If you say no, I'm gonna want to learn from you. You're gonna have to come join us in the presentation. You only got 2. That's golden.
How about Erica? Do you have any more stressors?
Bills. Did anybody say bills?
No,
No.
no one said bills, but that's
I'm
definitely
sure
one.
you too. We want it up here in your neck. All right.
Oh,
This is a situation. All right. Got it? All right.
She
Okay.
said school and bills is her main stressors.
All right.
Veronica said that.
Let's add school too, because we have bills there.
Yep.
All right. Do you have another one?
Moving out.
Moving out? Oh, yes.
I'm holding on for dear
All
life.
right. All right. Let's do a couple more. You have one? Erifili?
My history assignment for tomorrow.
Ooh, I don't even know where to put that one. Let's see. Okay.
Erica said keeping up with her car.
Oh, yes, there we go. I'm gonna add my dogs right now because they are not behaving very well, and I just know we're gonna have code enforcement called on us any day for the barking. So,
no.
all right. What about you, Miss Rochelle? What do you have?
Oh, I could probably go on and on. And
Good, please do. Let's go.
Work, kids,
Work,
health,
kids. Yes, yes. Health, go, go.
maintaining the house,
All right.
maintaining the yard.
Air feelings,
House projects,
house projects,
yard
yard.
projects.
Okay. Woo! So thank you very much for taking us over the edge. So this is exactly what we wanted to show you. Exactly what we wanted to show you. That obviously we can all balance a certain amount of stress. Araceli was doing a great job in the very beginning, easy peasy, held a couple things in her hand, but the more ping pong balls she was tasked with, i.e. the more stresses she had, the less easy and manageable it became to hold everything, to balance everything, and she started dropping the balls. That's exactly what happens. So what happens? We drop the ball quite figuratively and sometimes very literally too, when it comes to managing all the things that we have to do, that we have to take care of, that we have to manage, sometimes with a very much grace, I guess, and in a timely fashion. So hopefully this little demonstration really took it home for you that you can relate to. It's fun. Try it with your family and friends sometime. You can use different objects and items, cups, and we happen to have these balls. Balloons are fun too, but we thought probably not the best route to go here in COVID times and all that good stuff. But anyway, we're going to take it to the next step. As you can see, we already talked about it. Stress can be brought on by many different things. It's different, looks different for all of us. We did have some similarities, but we can probably still go on and on, even though we're very gentle with some of our stressors, we could still go on and on. Time management, as it says, is the process of directing how much time is spent on certain activities. So it ties in together, and you'll see that as we go along in our presentation, how time management affects stress and vice versa, how they have a reciprocal relationship.
Now, thinking about stress, we need to know what is stress and how is it caused. Like, what is stress? Can you, all right.
Yep, you're good.
So stress, as it says here is poor time management that creates it. I'm sorry. Stress is created by poor time management, and what you can feel out of it is like sweaty palms or butterflies in your stomach, or a lot of times feeling your entire body going numb. And it is the feeling of emotional or physical sensation that can cause way more problems, like a lot of headaches, that can cause problems like problems in your schedule. And stress has actually been starting since the 1930s. That's when psychology first started studying stress. And we have had a lot of studies on teenagers in the United States. And we can see that the first and major stressor is anxiety and depression that comes all the way to 70% of the student group. And then we have other problems such as bullying and drug and drinking addiction that can come all the way up to more than 0.5% of the students that were surveyed. And we see it at every single day in every single school, every single nation, especially the United States. And these are actually statistics that came from the Learning Network in New York Times. And going to our next graph, we can see that the stress continues even more at school and college. We can see that high levels of daily stress come all the way up to 27%. And the statistics that came from the American Psychological Association about teens stress in the US show that the biggest stressor for students is school. Because we have deadlines, we have assignments, we have teachers stressing us, we have sports stressing us, we have other outside work stressing us. And as a fun fact here, I want to say that actually back in the 1960s, if a person had the amount of stress that a student has right now, he would be given a really nice white jacket and put in the mental hospital in order to treat their stress. So that shows us not only that the days and like everyday life is really stressful, is going really fast, and people actually have no way of keeping up with it. That brings us to these statistics.
I was going to say, interesting, Araceli, is that you said about the white jacket. Really, we have in a white coat, so to speak, symbolic, and we really have a different form of that now, and it's called mental health. You know, it just looks different a little bit now. Thankfully, we don't use the white coats anymore that I'm aware of, but we have more people seeking out counseling and therapy and all that good stuff to be able to manage all those symptoms that you just talked about.
Exactly.
All right, so we're moving on to our next activity, second and final activity. This one is called the 3 buckets. As you can see here on the screen, we have 1 bucket for things that we can control, 1 bucket for things that we have some influence over. So we can't exactly control them, but we can lean in a little bit and maybe kind of influence things, sway things to go a certain way. And then our last bucket is something, are things that we cannot control. We feel like these things are absolutely out of our control. So for those of you at home joining us, we're going to ask our team here to participate as well. I'd like you to grab some paper if you didn't happen to bring it with you already, and a pen or pencil, whatever, any kind of writing utensil will work just fine. And I'll ask you to grab 3 to 6 papers, I'm gonna say, just for time's sake. I'm going to also give, like I said, our team here a few papers. And got some pens here for you. Hopefully they work. Ms. Rochelle, are you ready to jump in? To do it, or you have just enough on your plate? You're carrying enough ping pong balls. Okay, fantastic. All right, so for those of you at home, you can write. I encourage you to write. Get ready to write. You can just participate, but it's verbally, but it's nice if you write. And have 3 containers. Makes it better. 3 containers. They don't have to be cute, colorful bowls, but if you can have something that's distinguishable, where you can separate the 3. Separate the 3 buckets into the can control, have influence over, and can't control. That would be great. If you don't have any containers handy, just make 3 different piles in front of you and kind of remember what they are. Maybe you can use this as a reference to the order. So I'd like you to write down, let's say about 6 stressors in total, and take them from categories such as stressors in your family, stressors you can get, it's gonna be anonymous. So we're not gonna know whose stressor is what, except for maybe I guess online if you're participating, but other than that, you don't have to be very personal, just whatever you feel comfortable sharing or feel comfortable talking about just a little bit. So from your family life, from your work life, from your school life, from any interpersonal relationships that you have, and anything else you can think of. We're gonna have the obligatory other category as well for you to choose from. So just write down a few stressors that you have. We'll give everyone a few moments to do that.
I guess I could put this list of things I have to do today.
Yeah. That's it. All right, how's it looking, ladies? Elsa's writing. Oh, got a lot of stress going on. Get all the stressors out of our system right here. All right, you've got some done, Araceli. Ms. Rochelle's desk is covered in stressors. That means we have to do better, guys. To take some things off her plate. All right, so for those of you here live in the room, our team members, Ms. Rochelle, if you could come up and drop your stressors, hold them up and drop your stressors in the appropriate bowl. We'll just mirror kind of what it says here. So this will be the can control, have influence over, can't control. So hold them up and drop them in the bowl that you think it needs to be in. And at home, if you could just go ahead, or wherever you are virtually, if you go ahead and sort those into the piles that you have in front of you, into your own containers in this order. So can control, have influence over, can't control. Kind of freeing to be able to drop the things in the bowl, right? Yeah, I'm giving away my stressors, I'm putting them away. All right, so I hope you can see, those of you tuning virtually, that we've got our 3 bowls, kind of interestingly distributed. We've got, I'm going to say the most definitely they have influence over, which is amazing, because that gives us a little sense of power and control, which is in this case, a really good thing. We have only a few in the can't control bowl, and we have a good amount in the can control. So what we're going to do is we're going to have all of us here in the room just draw one. We're going to start, pick a random one, read it out loud.
That one is the can control, right?
This is the can't control.
Oops, I might have did it backwards.
Oh,
It's okay.
we'll figure it out. You can help clarify. All right, go ahead. Can you read that one, Araceli, for us?
Leaving my dogs when I have to move out.
Oh, that's a tough one. And that's in the can't control one. All right. So what do you guys think? I guess those of you who are online, is that something that we can't control, or is that something that we have influence over, or how do you think we could manage that? Is it just Veronica? Not just,
It's Veronica and Erica and myself.
all right. Veronica, Erica, do you guys have, and Mr. Rochelle, do you have any idea of if that's something, is there anything that can be done to move that can't control into one of the other buckets or bowls that we have?
And it was leaving your dog.
When they have to move out.
when it's time to move out.
Move out. Oh.
Or anyone here in the room.
I believe it's something we can have influence over. Thing is, we do need to take a lot of factors in consideration, like where we need to go and if we need to take to go to actually another house, to move into another house that can accept dogs. So we will need to take them with us, and not leave them behind.
Set up maybe a visitation schedule, just like with kids, set up a visitation schedule, see what we have to do there. So that is a tough one, obviously, depending on the circumstances, but
Exactly.
I'm gonna have to agree with Eric, feeling that it could be something, we might want to plant it as an in-betweener between the can't control and have influence over bucket there. All right, Eric Bailey, let's see if you can,
Thanks.
I know, this is a doozy, see if you can grab one from our have influence bucket.
Successfully managing my responsibilities, family, work, school, and commodities, I think.
Community, yes,
Community.
definitely. So what do you guys think? Is that in the right place or should it be moved?
And which bucket was it in?
Having
Didn't
influence
have
over.
influence over. Successfully managing responsibilities.
I think that's you can control. So I
I
think you
believe so
could
too.
move it from having influence over to control it. You
Yes,
just
you
have to
need
do
to-
better at time management.
I was gonna say, you guys have to give me tips on how. I do feel there's some things that are just, there's a framework that's there, but I think the success part definitely should probably gone into the can control. So there's some frameworks that you have to just work around in terms of schedules, set times, dance practices for kids, or whatever the case may be, deadlines for school, timelines, for work as well. But the success part, I think, definitely goes into can control. So that's where we can definitely move over. Awesome. All right, Elsa. This is out of our can control.
This says bills, rent and food
Ooh, okay,
can control.
can control.
I think that should be moved to have influence over. Because yes, we all have bills, but how much we spend on those bills is definitely in our control. We can't extend deadlines and dates and things like that, but we have an influence on how much we spend to have an impact on our bills.
I will make you
I
laugh.
agree with
All right, so this is moving to have influence over.
Yes,
All
Awesome.
right, I'm gonna put it here, so we just not have it back in the mix. Let's see, let's grab another one from here since this is gonna move through shop.
hopefully like I said, I put mine all in the wrong thing. Okay. Chemistry assignments.
Oh, that's a can control?
I believe so, yes.
All right, tell us about that.
Well, it's already the end of the semester and I've noticed that it's my little paper. So I've been dealing with chemistry for this entire semester and it's not been an easy journey, not an easy trip. But I have noticed that with the correct time management and scheduling when I need to study, what I need to study and where from, taking the right notes is something I can definitely have control over. And it has shown both negative and positive results when I hadn't studied as much and did not get good grades, and when I had studied great, knew exactly what I was doing, the solutions and everything, and it shows the results.
Okay.
So school is certainly something we can have control over.
Okay, so you can have control over the
Right.
way that you manage your assignments, but you
That is
don't
right.
have control over how many assignments your professor assigns you. So I think it could be moved over to have influence over, because yes, the way you handle them and you manage them is definitely all your control. But we can't, like your professor could drop a pop quiz today and you wouldn't necessarily have control over that. You would have control over how you perform on the exam, but you wouldn't necessarily have control that, man, that professor just assigned that damn pop quiz today.
But why if I studied accordingly for the quiz, because it's just a normal day.
Right.
So
Then you
I will
probably-
let you
well,
decide, I will let you decide,
Yeah.
maybe that's like in the border.
Okay, I know too, it's interesting today, because I was feeling the same way, I was like, that is awesome, like, you're a rock star, do you feel you can control that, like, oh, you gotta get handle, especially with chemistry of all things. But, I would have been more leaning towards the have influence bucket over for the same reasons too, because like Rochelle said, you can't control what you're up against, but you can definitely control how you manage it. And it is about stressors, so you can control that portion of it, was it like, how much you let it stress you, I think.
But I like your
that's active.
mindset.
Yes, definitely.
Mine don't
Yes.
matter.
That's good stuff. All right, Eric Feely, let's have you grab one from the.
Let's
camp.
have you grab one.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
no.
have you. All right, fine. Let's see, I'm gonna get my own. Oh, COVID-19. Well, so this is in the camp control one. I'm gonna be bold enough to say that we can put this in the have influence over bucket. I think we can do our part, however that looks for everyone, hand washing, sanitizing, we all know the drill by now after practicing hopefully for a good year now. Can we control whether we get it? No, we can't control it, but like I said, I think it's an influence when we're not just hopeless and helpless, I guess, at this point, so I would like to move that one over to the have influence over. All right, let's do 2 more and then we'll move on, let's see. I'm leaning more towards grabbing from the camp control bowl because I would like for all of us to see how things can move from there, things that we feel like it's powerless over and a little bit helpless with, that we can guide each other like we have been, and we ought to continue to do to kind of take some of this out of here and move it to the other where we feel a little bit more empowered. So Ilsa, how about you grab one?
Making mistakes at work.
Making mistakes at work.
Yeah.
It's in the camp control bowl. Okay. What do you got, team? Feedback. What do you think? Should it stay there and at home as well, or online rather? Should it stay in the camp control bowl or can that one be moved?
Should mistakes stay in the can't control bucket?
Like we should have the Jeopardy music on to think about this one for a second.
They can be moved in the have influence over, certainly, but in order to have influence over them, we need to make them first. So it's something, in my opinion, something in between. Like they cannot be, you cannot avoid them. You need to do them in order to put them in the have influence over and then the can control bucket. It's a whole process.
True, and I think you can minimize the amount of mistakes that you make potentially as well, by how observant you are, I guess, and what type of learner you are, how much information you take in from your mentor or teacher or guide or whoever the case may be from your supervisor. So the more I think that you learn and you research or whatever it is that you depending on your line of work, I guess, I think you can avoid making multiple mistakes or as many. So I would have to agree. I think that could be to have influence. I mean, a mistake is mistakes, kind of like an accident, but at the end of the day, I think we control, certain areas of it. So I think we can successfully move that. Sorry, I'll lock for you. Oh, see, we moved you right out of that. All right, Airfield, let's grab another. I want to see this one empty.
So, legacy?
Yeah, I mixed up my buckets.
Okay, so we can control legacy, right?
I think I would like to move that to have influence
influence
over,
over?
regardless if I put it in can control or can't control. It may have been in the right bucket, but at the end of the day, the only thing I don't have influence over is the way students perform or commit. Over the program content and the pace of the program, yes, I have control over, but how students react and respond and participate is all in each student's hands.
It's kind of like the lead a horse to water principle.
Yes.
You can set it all up and say, here's the water, drink, drink, drink. It's beautiful, it's fresh, it's clean. I made sure, and but then it's out of your hands from there on in. All right, excellent. All right, Mr. Shell, let's give you one of those. There's some shooting going on here. I'm just saying, but you can't see it.
Currently, student engagement and leadership is moving to the fishbowl, and this week we have some unexpected circumstances happen, so therefore it is in my hands to make sure that we are all moved this week. So the fishbowl is definitely in my stressors this week. But, and I put this in can't control, but again, it would have to be moved over to have influence over. Because one, we chose to move to the fishbowl and we asked to move, and we think it's going to be better for our students to have a better space to utilize for general student use or student leaders. But we don't have control over the timeline to move there because we have other things that are moving into our current areas. So it's a little bit of a mix.
Right, and it could be maybe the control part, how many people do you have to help you with the move, and
Right.
what does that look like? Do you have whatever devices, utensils, you know, tools, whatever to move, you know, dollies or whatever, you know, whatever it is, how we can see how to help, so.
Yeah, so student engagement and leadership is moving to the bookstore's gift shop area, where it's all glass and you can see around.
Okay.
So, by April 1st, we'll all be moved in. Bear with us in the move, because it's gonna look, unfinished for a little while.
That's good stuff. All right, we're nearing the end of our can't control bowl. I love it. All right, so bills are in the can't control bowl. I think we kind of already addressed this one. I think it definitely needs to be moved over to the have influence. Yes, some bills are set, but for everything, even our car insurance, we can go shopping, get regular quotes, new quotes, housing as well. Yes, sometimes we're stuck, but you can look at roommate situations if you can't afford your own, food, all that good stuff. We can decide whether I'm not encouraging you to order off of the dollar menu at McDonald's, but you can technically, or, you know, you can eat ramen as opposed to filet mignon. Anyway, so I think definitely this one is to have influence over. And actually the last one, I'll just wrap up because it's COVID. COVID landed in our bowl twice, just figuratively, not literally. No worries, we're all good here. But anyway, so COVID we already discussed, that can definitely be in the have influence over. So I'd like to just stop for a second and ask our, those of you joining us virtually, Veronica and Ms. Erica, do you have anything to add, to share? How did this impact you, this activity? What did it do for you? What were some of the things that you had in your bowls? And were you able to move them as we talked about them? Were there any parallels that you saw here? Did you have some of the same stresses? We'd just like to pause and hear from you for a moment.
Well, the more we talked about it, I realized that I do have more control over things, or at least have that influence over things. And another, like, I guess, correlation I was thinking of as we were talking, if you replace stress, the word stress, with fear, it kind of works. Like, okay, I fear that I didn't study enough for my test, you know, so I'm, you know, you're stressed. So when, you know, you know, I'm leaving my dog behind or something like that, you know, I fear that, you know, I'm going to have to leave him behind and someone's going to have to look after him, or what's going to happen next. You know, I'm worried if I fear that I can't pay my bill. I think when you look at it, I think you can control your fears about things. And the same feeling that I get when I think of fear and stress is kind of like that same angst inside me. So I was like, there's a lot of correlations between that fear. And I'm a firm believer that you can control fear. So that's why I was like thinking like, well, if you can control your fear, you can control your stress. And I think that's really where it, you know, kind of came down to it. So I was thinking back and forth, but yeah, I did move some things that initially was at can't back over to I have influence over when I started thinking about it as y'all were, you know, going through. So definitely, I was thinking about it on my own too.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. That's great insight too, because you're absolutely right. Fear, angst, I think is a good word as well too, that you mentioned. And it does really correlate a lot, because that's what really stress is a lot of times, is uncertainty, the unknown, feeling overwhelmed is tied to a lot of different emotions. And I think that's really great when it kind of just sum it all up, that angst is, you know, fear. Could be fear too. I feel like fear is strong, a little bit more intimidating, I guess, has, you know, more weight. And it is in some areas, and for some people it definitely is. But that correlation is definitely a great conclusion to draw there, to make there. I love that you were able also to move some of your can't controls over into the have influence over. And what is a word that you can think of, Erica, that kind of brings that together? Like, that really describes the feeling that you had when you were able to move those can't controls into your have influence.
Well, Veronica said that it makes her feel better knowing that she's not alone in her stress.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that kind of works for that. And then I see Erica smiling.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one word I would say is peace. When I think it's like, once you understand, once you have like action, like for the bills, like, okay, well, I got to work this many hours to pay this. Like, once you have that, you find peace. Like, once you do those like extra study hours, you have them scheduled, you study that extra time, I think you come at like this calm peace of, I got this.
Definitely. And that's a balance to basically what you said as well. Peace is kind of counteracts, I guess you'd say, or is on the opposite end of the spectrum of angst and fear. So I think that's a great conclude as well. And the togetherness, not feeling alone, you know, what Veronica said definitely is, gosh, there are people that are in the same boat as I am. I think many of us, I hate to say love that feeling, but it is like, it does give us a sense of peace and calm and reassurance that, okay, it's not just me struggling. There's a lot that we draw from that, I think, as well, to know that we're not in it alone. Is there another word, is something I'm thinking of, is there another word that you think of when you
I
feel
would
that
like
transition?
to add to what Erica said, that my word for it is feeling powerful. Because a lot of times stress and whatever we have to do makes us feel so powerless that we are no one, we're nothing here, and we can do nothing to have influence over our lives when this is completely wrong. I mean, we just proved it. So actually seeing your responsibilities, seeing what you have to do, what you have control over, makes you feel powerful, makes you feel strong again, and extremely motivated, I could say.
Definitely. What about you,
I
Ilsa?
would say relieved,
Mm-hmm.
because like Veronica, like she mentioned that, you know, she's relieved that she's not the only one going through this, and I feel like like knowing that there's other people going through the same thing, it's just like I'm not alone, and it's just like I feel relieved that if I ever need like help from somebody, that they're going through the same thing and they can help me.
Definitely. Awesome, thank you guys, and I think that's exactly one of the things that this illustration, this activity illustrates so well, is that how we move from fear, from angst, from anxiety, from stress, to a reassurance, to empowerment, to relief, to reassurance. That's a really, really good feeling. It's a really strong word, strong emotions, and they really help balance us out. And look how quickly we just did that as well. I mean, in the big scheme of things, it took a minute to sit down, to write it out, to sort our thoughts, sort our feelings, connect with those, identify them, how we're positioned in these three buckets. How do we place, or where do we place those stressors? And then to kick it around. So get together. This is something you can apply anytime, really. You can do it by yourself, but it's more valuable, I believe anyway, to do it with friends, to get together with family, whatever. Have a 3-bucket powwow and just sit down, you know, take a couple of minutes in between classes or at lunchtime or whatever at work, and just have a 3-bucket powwow and just sit down and have everybody write that down and help each other, give each other some pointers, because I think many of us that put something in the can't control bucket felt really powerless, felt helpless, felt like, I don't really know what to do with this. This is why I ended up in the can't control bucket, because we surrendered our power over that and our knowledge as to how to tackle that. And as a team, we came up together as really a team that doesn't know each other very well at all, but we came together and said, hey, this is what you can do. This is how I see it. And look how we're able to move everything. So anyway, thank you for joining us for our 3 buckets activity. We hope you enjoyed it. And I'll also just have a good takeaway from that as well, that you can implement as well anytime you need it.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about some tips for effective time management to avoid stress. First one would be like to set SMART goals that are, you know, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time oriented. Now, I put an example that says like, I will finish my homework 2 days before the due date, because you could just say, I'll just finish my homework before the due date. But putting the 2 days before the due date turns it into a SMART goal.
And that's great, because we actually just saw that with the have influence over with the chemistry assignments. It's the exact example. Like, I will need to finish it, I will need to study for it before my due date. So I do have control over my grade, I do have control over what I'm gonna study, but not the due date. So I better get to work with my time management schedule.
I also put to plan it out, like setting up a calendar at the beginning of every month with your fixed events, like the stuff that you know is gonna happen, like the assignments with the schedule of activities. I always prefer to write the stuff out on my calendar instead of like, you know, like a planner, everybody or their phone, because I see the calendar. It's right there up against my door. So whenever I leave, I see what I have to do, when I have to do it. So it helps to set up a calendar. Personally for me versus a planner, because I lose things. So I tried the planner method and I lose it a lot, or I just leave it in my backpack. But with the calendar and setting up everything at the beginning of every month really helps in knowing what I have to do, like with the time management. That way it helps me to avoid stress.
Definitely. I think everything, you know, different things work for different people. To your point, I think that's a great illustration as well, to a great example to say, you know, calendar, planner, phone. For me, I live on my phone pretty much, and to have my calendar, but I have a work calendar, Google Calendar was set up to work. In the beginning, honestly, I felt like, well, this is dumb. I don't need this, and whatever. I love it as my lifeline now, and I plug in my personal appointments there too. Because it's everything at a glance, like you said. So that's definitely, we have that in common. Everything at a glance, and it makes life so much easier. I'll still need several reminders sometimes around the house between all the different things that happen, the kids' schedules and my husband's work stuff and there's still a lot. So sometimes I kind of double, not double dip, but like do the double security, I guess, by having different things around the house in addition to my calendar, but that's definitely a great lifeline. So find whatever works for you in terms of planning, whether you're more visual that you need it, or you prefer to have it up where you can see it every day, if it's okay electronically or in a planner, whatever works, make it happen.
Also, it's important to stick to your times. Like if you have a set pattern of times to accomplish something, then stick to it. Don't keep moving the goalpost, as this does not help you in achieving your goals. For example, like on my calendars, when I have assignments that I have to do, I'll put start at 10:30 or start, like I actually write the times that I'm going to do the assignments as well, along with the date. But there are times, I'm not gonna lie, when I have like at 10 o'clock, I'll do my homework. But then when it gets closer to that time, I'm just like, oh, I'll just do it like at 11, and then I don't end up doing it, and I just forget. And then I'm left with all these assignments that I'll have to do all at once. That's why it's important to stick to the time that you're going to do something, because that's what you already have planned in order to avoid stress. And not sticking to it is the complete opposite of that. And then you're just overwhelmed with all the assignments that you have to do. That's why it's important to stick to your times.
I will totally agree with that too.
Yeah.
I mean, 100%. I remember, every day I wake up and I see the schedule actually from the night before. So see what I have to do the next day so I can manage my time correctly. And then when the time comes to actually do an assignment, do some homework, or even hang out with my friends sometimes, because at this point you might need to put on your schedule too in order to not forget. The time comes and then I will try to find excuses not to do whatever I have to do. So sticking to your time is actually highly important if you actually want a success in whatever you do.
That's true. Just kind of tell yourself this is not negotiable. Like this is what it is. Pretend like it's a work schedule where you don't have a choice. If your boss says, hey, you need to be, here or have this done by this time, we don't say, I mean, if you're interested in keeping your job, you will not say, I think I'll do it tomorrow or maybe later because I want to, go on Facebook for another hour rather than doing this. So definitely make sure that it's not negotiable, which is definitely easier said than done, at least for many of us, because there are so many distractions, especially now with some of us working from home or doing school virtually. The distractions can be much greater than when you're actually in class, obviously learning, or in an office or wherever your workspace is. There are a lot of distractions. I can definitely attest to that too. You look over and see a pile of laundry, like, well, maybe I'll just fold the laundry and then I'll get back to doing this Word document, or, oh, the dogs are barking, let me go see what they're doing and come back. And so there's a ton of things to do too. So definitely having it written down is a great idea.
Knowing enough is enough. You have to be ready to admit when, for example, you look over at your calendar and you realize that you have way too much and try getting everything done all at once, and it's okay to take a break. Like even on your calendar, if you have to put on a certain day, it's like, okay, today I'm just going to relax, take the day for myself. At least that will give you get you the right mindset to go back through everything you have to do again. But it's okay to admit when you look at your calendar, you're like, oh my gosh, I have way too much going on, and it's too overwhelming, it's too much. So it's okay to admit that.
And thing is, it's okay to take a break. Even if you have a lot of things to do, it's okay to take a break, to relax, to do things you like, to exercise. Because actually stress is, let's say, is built up in our major muscles. So in order to release those stress, you need to move them. You need to go out, you need to walk, you need to run, you need to dance. You need to do anything you like that is actually going to make you happy. Is going to make you forget that you have things to do. And then when you actually need to do those things, you will come back with a whole different mindset, a whole different way of doing things. And it will be more energetic, and it will be way easier to actually do those things.
Yeah.
So when you said exercise is a way of stress relief, it's very well known and very common. For me, that's actually a stressor. Funny, I'm like, exercise, you want me to do what? So it's one of those goals there. So we're starting sticking to an exercise routine. I always fall off the wagon. I start really great, and then I'm like, boop, I'm off the wagon. And so anyway, the exercise thing, but yes, absolutely, it's a great tool, great method to use. And with the take a break, I don't know if anybody else was thinking this, but when I was hearing that and looking at this lady with great envy, snuggled up on the couch with a pillow, what I wouldn't give to do that. And thinking, looking at my schedule, thinking about how can I take a break when I have 155 things on my schedule? Some of them are not negotiable, some of them are not, I can just kind of clock out and say, okay, I'm gonna go, be this lady and snuggle up on my couch for a little bit. So take a break the next day at your next opportunity, but make sure you get the break in. I think if you're wondering like how on earth to do that, you may not be able to do it in that moment or in that day, or it may not be the break that you'd like to say. It's a half an hour snooze on the couch, or half an hour snuggle, but take 2 minutes just to breathe, or to go outside and just take in some fresh air, whatever the case may be. So maybe a shorter break, but it's a break nonetheless, like Araceli said, just to kind of break the monotony of what you have going on, the stress of the moment, and schedule it for sure. Get it on the books.
So to end everything, there's a quote here that says, stress happens when you think that you have to figure out everything all at once. Breathe, you're strong, you got this, take it day by day. And this quote really helped me when I was doing this presentation, because I also had like other stuff that I had to do. So like the fact it says breathe, you're strong, you got this, take it day by day, like really, like hit me right here. Because everybody like has like a bunch of stuff that they have to do, like this whole presentation that we talked about. But like to just, like we're saying, like to sit and just remember, like take it day by day. Like you're not the only one that's stressed, and everybody has stuff going on, but just breathe, you're strong. And but that's this quote, I really liked it. I feel like it could help everybody to just
Take a step back,
Take a
reflect, and then realize that you got to take it step by step in order to reach your goal, success, whatever your goal is.
Definitely. I think this is a great one to print out. I love that you chose this quote for the presentation, especially on a note to end our prayer presentation to a conclusion, because I think, again, it's great to print out, put them in your house, in your car, on the mirror, wherever, strategically place it throughout the different environments that you're in, because it does serve as a great reminder. Additionally, we can be that quote to someone else. In other words, let's remind each other, be more mindful of reminding one another, especially in this very stressful time, it seems, in this last year with COVID, and still, we're still kind of dealing with a lot of things. Things still look different. Obviously, we're all still wearing masks, et cetera, et cetera. But let us be the reminders for one another to say, hey, Elsa, you are strong. I feel you've got this. Ms. Rochelle, take it day by day. Then we make sure we remind one another that, and just use our encouragement to help someone else make it through. So we thank you all for joining us virtually. We hope that you're able to grab a few little nuggets that you can apply to your own life to be able to better manage your stress. Know that you're not alone, like we said. We've given you a few tips and tricks and tools to use. We hope you apply them and live a stress, I don't say stress-free, that's kind of a bit stress less stress life, I guess, ladies.
And check yourself before you stress yourself.
That's right. All
Let's
right.
wrap
so
up.
true.
All right, ladies, congratulations for being the first group to complete their Legacy Leaders Leadership Seminar. All right, good job.